I suspect most of the audience knows about breastfeeding medicine, but I'm going to take the opportunity to discuss it. The importance of the journal. To a certain extent, it reflects the importance of the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine, as Ruth mentioned earlier this day. This is an organization that was set up as a physician-based organization, primarily, obviously, to educate physicians and create an environment where the information and the science of breastfeeding support and advocacy and science of what is breast milk, and I combined the two, this between breastfeeding and milk itself, would be addressed by the medical community. I'm not so sure how many physicians are sitting in the audience other than the first row here. Any other physicians? We're a minority. And one of the realities in dealing with anything, surely in public health, where you're dealing with a variety of people from different professions, but physicians, although they may not be the leaders, are and maybe some people the major behind-the-scenes influence. The doctors only listen to doctors. That's a reality. And that's not to insult the non-physicians here. And if you don't have the physician community as part of the process, the reality is that you do not succeed at the same level that you would like to. And that goes along with almost anything, surely in terms of breastfeeding, where the physician is in the contact with the mother and the family and maybe being individually taking care of the child. So if they're not on board, both with knowledge but with support and advocacy, it's just not going to work. And surely when it comes to public health policy making. So that was why ABM was founded. Pretty much concomitant with the formation of the organization, it was felt that there should be a journal, and it emphasizes it's not human lactation, it's not breastfeeding, it's breastfeeding medicine, and that's not just the semantic things. There is a science of breastfeeding, science of lactation, what is in the milk, the process of the lactation, and all that's implication. And if it's not science-based, or as we say now, evidence-based, that we do not have the tools to convince our colleagues, the physicians, but ultimately the general public. So breastfeeding medicine was set up as a journal. As you could guess, Ruth was the first editor, and it was a full 10 years that she served in that capacity. And I think it has now become the critical journal, which giving an opportunity for a forum of people who are the science of milk, of breast milk, the science of breastfeeding, and all its broader sense, is to give them a forum to publish the journal. The journal is open to publishing. You don't have to be a physician to publish, but it has to meet the standards, the scientific standards that you would expect from a medical journal. And it reflects our concept that breastfeeding is a medical discipline, no less than that. I had the opportunity to serve on the board for many years, and in about a little bit over a year ago now, a year and a half to be exact, I was asked to take over as the editor-in-chief. I am happy to report, and I think it's almost as up-to-date information and news than we have, that as opposed to the previous years, our impact factor has gone up roughly 15% in last year. Most importantly, from my perspective, I think having established its role in the context of the medical community, the number of submissions worldwide has gone up tremendously, well over 15% in the last year. I think it has continued to go up for the 10 years that Ruth was editor, but it continues to go up. That's just a greater burden on me and greater challenge to find appropriate people to be the reviewers of the articles. I'm struck by the submissions in terms of the quality, but I'm also struck by the wide range of geographic areas that people are submitting, not just program descriptions, real science. If they want to do something, they say, we're doing this in contrast to that. We're getting and enlarging our evidence base for the support of breastfeeding. Without this evidence base, from wherever it comes, that's applicable worldwide, we're just not going to convince the world. We're not going to convince the public. We're not going to convince the public health authorities. We're not going to convince everybody that breastfeeding of the infant, for whatever period you say, 6 months, a year, 2 years, I don't want to get into that discussion now, is a critical factor for the health of the child, the health of the mother, the health of the family, and the health of society, as we heard. I don't know if I have to say much more. I think everybody who probably is familiar with the journal. I think there are some free copies of the last issue. It gives me an opportunity every month to write an editorial so I could sound off whatever is bothering me that month. So I admit I have my own biases, and it's always nice to have a platform and nobody else could review it other than my own conscience. So I hope you enjoy my comments. They're not always to everybody's favor, right? But more importantly, I think I want to encourage everybody, for whatever discipline they are, if they're doing real work and there's real evidence and there's real data, the best and the most important place to present the information to the general public, not only the medical public, most of our readers are not physicians in the end, but to a worldwide public, is through the journal Breastfeeding Medicine. It meets a standard that no other journal in this field meets. I'm not here to badmouth any other journals, but when journals are edited by people who don't come from the medical world, there is a different standard, a different type of article gets submitted, a different article ultimately gets published, and its influence, although it may be read, is different than articles coming through Breastfeeding Medicine. So I surely encourage everybody from wherever discipline to please submit.